This is the Global Unit 9.5 short answer constructive response questions. So we have document 1. And this shows a map of the Mediterranean world in 1092, 3 years before the start of the First Crusade. So we have Islamic civilizations down here as well, and then you have Christian civilizations all through Europe. So explain the geographic context for the development of the Crusades. Why was this happening in this area? Why were these areas Islamic? Why was this area Christian? Pause if you need time. Document 2. It's an excerpt from Pope Urban II's speech at the Council of Clermont in 1095. It says, "From the confines of Jerusalem and the city of Constantinople, a horrible tale has gone forth. It has been brought to our ears that a race from the kingdom of Persians or Muslims, an accursed race, a race utterly alienated from God, has invaded the lands of those Christians and has depopulated them by sword, pillage, and fire." So essentially that Muslims have come to a Christian area and they have killed a lot of the Christians there. "It has led away a part of the captives into its own country, and a part of it has destroyed by cruel tortures. It has either entirely destroyed the churches of God or appropriated them for the rites of its own religion. They destroy the altars after having defiled them with their uncleanness. Enter upon the road of the holy sepulchre, wrest that land from the wicked race and subject it to yourselves. Accordingly, undertake this journey for the remission of your sins, with the assurance of the imperishable glory of the kingdom of heaven. And let this then be your war cry in combats, because this world is given to you by God. When an armed attack is made upon the enemy, let this one be raised by all the soldiers of God. It is the will of God, it is the will of God." So using this document, explain the purpose for Pope Urban II's speech at the Council of Clermont. Why is he giving this speech talking about these Muslims coming in and saying, let this then be your war cry in combat? What is he trying to get people to do? What's his purpose? Pause when you pause to take more time. And then question 28 is this comparison. So it says, identify and explain a cause and effect relationship associated with the historical developments in Document 1 and Document 2. Be sure to use evidence from both Documents 1 and 2 in your response. So how did what was happening in Document 1 cause what's happening in Document 2? Okay, give me the relationship between them. And pause. So now we have this Document 1. It says, Raymond d'Aguilé was an eyewitness to the First Crusade. He followed the crusading army to Jerusalem and wrote a history of his experiences. The passage below is a modified excerpt from his first account of the Crusaders' siege of Jerusalem that he wrote sometime after the First Crusade. He said, "Finally our men took possession of the walls and towers, and wonderful sights were to be seen. Some of our men, and this was more merciful, cut off the heads of their enemies. Others shot them with arrows so that they fell from the towers. It was necessary to pick one's way over the bodies of men and horses. In the Temple of Solomon, men rode in blood up to their knees in bridle reins. Indeed, it was a just and splendid judgment of God that this place should be filled with the blood of unbelievers, since it had suffered so long from their blasphemies. Some of the enemy took refuge in the Tower of David, and petitioning the court Raymond for protection, surrendered the tower into his hands. How the pilgrims rejoiced and exulted and sang a new song to the Lord. On this day the children of the apostles regained the city and fatherland for God and their fathers." So explain the historical circumstances that led to the crusade. What was happening in history that led up to the crusades happening? And document 2. Ibn al-Athir was an Arab historian who wrote a history of the first 3 Crusades, though he only witnessed the 3rd one. The passage below is a modified excerpt from his account of the siege of Jerusalem during the First Crusade. Jerusalem was taken from the north on the morning of July 15, 1099. The population was put to the sword by the Franks, who pillaged the area for a week. A band of Muslims barricaded themselves into the Tower of David and fought on for several days. They were granted their lives in return for surrendering. The Franks honored their word, and the group left by night for Ascalon. In the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Franks slaughtered more than 70,000 people, among them a large number of imams and Muslim scholars, devout men who had left their homelands to live lives of religious seclusion in the holy place. The Franks stripped the dome of the rock of more than 40 silver candelabra and more than 20 gold ones, and a great deal more booty. Refugees reached Baghdad and told the caliph's minister a story that wrung their hearts and brought tears to their eyes. They begged for help, weeping so that their hearers wept with them, as they described the sufferings of the Muslims in that holy city. The men killed, the women and children taken prisoner, the homes pillaged. So using document 2, identify the author's point of view concerning the siege of Jerusalem during the First Crusade. So we're going to keep in mind that he is an Arab historian. Okay, so think about what religion he might be. And think about how he talks about the Christians and the Muslims. Is he talking about the Christians doing good things or bad things? Okay, and why might his religion have something to do with how he's talking about it? And then question 31 is just you need to identify a similarity and a difference between documents 1 and document 2. How are they talking about what's happening during the Crusades? What religion might the authors be? What side do they seem to pick in this fight? Okay, so use evidence to show me a similarity or a difference.